I'm gonna go ahead and start playing. It's been a minute since I played this game. Maybe like a couple years. But out of all the Genesis Sonic games, I probably come back to this one more often than the others these days. Just because it's pretty short. Doesn't take that long of a commitment to just plow through pretty quickly. Well, thanks for reading along. This has mostly been just an excuse for me to bust out some of the streaming equipment since I'm not streaming fighting game tournaments anymore. That, and I wanted to revisit... I've been wanting to revisit a lot of the old Mario games for a long time. Don't have a whole lot else to do on the weekends during lockdown. The perpetual, never-ending 2020 lockdown. So it's been a pretty good way to kill time. Yeah, that's what that's why I got into streaming originally, I guess about 7 years ago, was I wanted to stream local fighting game tournaments just to like raise the visibility of our local scene back when I lived in Alabama. That and I just liked messing around with the tech, and it gave me a good reason to do it. I mostly streamed Marvel 3. Got into Street Fighter V for a little bit during its first year, but didn't really take to that many other games. And since COVID killed pretty much all in-person fighting game events this year, like a lot of my streaming gear has just been collecting dust. Was never much for just streaming from the house or the apartment, just because I'm not much of an entertainer. Been trying to get together with a few of my friends recently to see if we could get together for streaming sessions like on a more regular basis, but again, not very many people are eager to get out of the house that much these days. I'm trying to remember if I can actually get up to that one up from here. I think you have to take the bottom path to get there. If I wouldn't have wasted the speed cheese, I probably could have gotten it, and I don't really feel like taking that alternate path just to get that one up. It's not really worth it. As far as Sonic games go, I got into them like right when they were brand new, like when they were the new hot thing. And I think I got my Genesis in Christmas 1992, so I got Sonic 1 and 2 at the same time. Before then, I'd just been playing Sonic 1 at a neighbor's place. And like most people, I think, like most Sega diehards anyway in the 90s, if you would have asked me, say 20 years ago what my favorite Sonic game was, I probably would have said Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which I think is probably the most popular pick for a pretty good reason. But these days I actually prefer this game, not just because it's shorter, but because, like, it just doesn't feel as bloated as Sonic 3 does. Like, there's a lot of levels in Sonic 3 that I feel like go on too long for their own good. They're big for the sake of being big and just have a lot of autoplay loops and stuff to pad out the level length more than anything else. But what I really like about this game is that I feel like the level design is the most deliberate. Like, the odd-numbered levels are very much geared towards the unique way that Sonic plays. Like, they're full of ramps and loops and springs and whatnot. And the even-numbered levels are very much traditional platformer stages. Like, they're much slower and methodical, and a lot of people don't seem to care for that. Like, if you ask a lot of people what they think about Sonic 1, they'll say, oh, Green Hill Zone's great, and then Marble Zone and everything after is really boring. But I kind of like those levels for what they are. And having levels that are either really geared towards Sonic's unique momentum or really geared towards traditional platforming is something that I actually think works better than in the later games where they try to mix both styles in the same level. But that's just like a personal preference thing. I also feel like this game never really drags that much. I mean, but that's dependent on whether you can stand Labyrinth Zone or not, I think, and I don't really mind it. But Sonic 2, I think, is paced really well overall, but then near the end of the game where they have Oil Ocean, Metropolis, and Sky Chase back to back to back, it just makes the end of the game miserable. And then in Sonic 3, I just think the game takes too long to get interesting. Like, I think the end of Sonic 3 is extremely good. Like, everything from, I guess, the Lava Reef boss onwards. Like, they really do a good job at ratcheting up the stakes and everything. And the final boss sequence is just great. But I just think the game takes a bit too long to get to that point. Sonic CD I also like. I just think the final zone is a letdown. The game kind of peaks at the Metal Sonic race, and then the last zone is just kind of whatever. But I like that game a lot too. Yeah, Metropolis Zone it might be the most miserable zone in the Genesis Sonic games. Every enemy in that level is positioned and designed for like maximum frustration. Basically exactly like that Caterkiller right there, except it's every enemy in the game. The hitboxes are whack, the placements are whack, even if you know what's coming, it's not always straightforward to avoid hits. Yeah, Marble Garden might be my least favorite level in Sonic 3. In general, like, I wonder how much it hurt the game by splitting it into two parts, because I feel like that might have wrecked the difficulty curve. Because Launch Base simultaneously has to be the last level of Sonic 3 and like the midway point of the combined game. And I don't know, it just feels like the difficulty curve never really picks up until the very end. Whereas in Sonic 1, again, like, it's not just that the levels kind of alternate in style for each zone, but the difficulty kind of has peaks and valleys to it. Like, Green Hill, Spring Yard, and Starlight are all really easy. And then Marble, Labyrinth, and Scrap Brain are pretty hard. And just having that alternating back and forth, I think, kind of helps it from getting too boring. This is definitely one part of the level where if you don't know that these things are coming, it's easy to just jump into those spikes blindly. I think S2, like Sonic 2's difficulty curve is pretty straightforward. I think it just gradually gets harder as you get further along in the game, like it should, except for Chemical Plant being kind of a weird difficulty spike early on. But other than that, I think its curve is pretty normal. Again, just Sonic 3 and Sonic & Knuckles feels like it's basically the same difficulty all the way through until you get to the very end. Like, the only hard thing, I think, in the earlier stages of that game is just the risk of running out of time if you're not familiar with the levels, because they're a lot bigger than Sonic 1 and 2's. But you have levels like Sandopolis where if you don't know the right path out of certain looping sections, you can burn a lot of time off the clock. That's usually the way I see people get stuck in that game. Getting a little impatient. Sandopolis Act 2 is also a level that I don't mind at all these days, but if you're just learning the game, that's aggravating as heck. Sonic 1 is definitely a game that I think people come into with weird expectations that it doesn't really live up to. Like, maybe if you've played the later Genesis games first, or you've played some of the 3D games first, or you're just familiar with Sonic as a character, more as a character than with any of his games, and you're just expecting it to be like super fast and just constant pinball physics, and really that's like less than half the game. And I think a lot of people come away from this game kind of disappointed because it doesn't live up to those preconceived notions. But for me, like, I played this game back in 1991 on a neighbor's Genesis without having seen any commercials or anything beforehand. So I feel like, I guess I've always had an easier time just accepting it for what it is, because I didn't have any idea of what it was supposed to be. So it's always been pretty easy for me to come back to. And this is a pretty slowly paced level. And you could, like, there's ways to skip that block section a lot faster than what I'm doing here. I'm just kind of rusty and don't really remember how to do it. I mean, as far as like a 1991 platformer, like even if even taking away like Sonic's unique pinball physics and whatnot, just taking this game as an early 90s platformer, it's still pretty solid, even on those merits alone. In my opinion, anyway. I'm also playing the Japanese version, which gives you extra lives every 50,000 points, which wasn't something that was in the American version, although they did add that to every version of Sonic 2 and 3 that came after this. The American version of Sonic 1 actually came out before the Japanese version, so they tweaked a few things for the Japanese release just to tighten it up a little bit. So I went out of my way to buy a Japanese cartridge for this game because I want the clouds in Green Hill to move and the extra underwater effects in Labyrinth Zone. Some of the other small things that they added. Yeah, what's really interesting about the way Sonic plays, well, one of the things is like how he influenced other animal mascot platformers in the 90s. Because I feel like there were a lot of games that tried to copy Sonic's like fast, speedy gameplay, but they didn't copy the ring system, and that's part of what makes Sonic work. Because like the ring system allows you to basically play as recklessly as you want, because as long as you're holding one ring, you can't die. At least not through ordinary means. So other games that copy Sonic's speed but use like a traditional hit point system for death usually feel extremely punishing in comparison. Like I'm thinking of games like Bubsy and like Awesome Possum, which is something I actually owned at one point. They left a lot to be desired. And also the fact that they lock the special stages and the Chaos Emeralds behind a 50 ring requirement means that in order to get the best ending, you either have to be so ungodly good that you're not getting hit and constantly losing your rings, or you just have to play the game over and over enough to the point where you can play recklessly and still dodge hazards because you already know where they are. Oh, come on. I thought there was something over there. I'm in Act 3, right? So I don't even really need to focus on holding onto my rings this time. Trying to read chat while I'm riding this block. Yeah, I can't think of another platformer that uses something like Sonic's rings in the way that Sonic uses them. That's both like a stand-in for coins from Mario and also as like its own kind of health system. Like, it's a really unique quality of this series that I think is pretty elegant in what it does. And I just can't think of anything else that copied it. I can push up against that. It's kind of easy to get mixed up and go backwards via that shortcut if you don't know that you're supposed to come up here instead. But also, if you're familiar enough with the level to know that shortcut, you probably already know that. Like, it's weird to listen to, like, some people who are new to Sonic and they really react negatively to how rings work just because they feel like the act of, like, having to drop all of your rings when you get hit just feels really punishing. And I wonder if they're even thinking about it in the sense that, well, actually, it's kind of a more lenient way for you to just tank hits over and over. I still don't understand what the purpose of all of these words in the background of the stage are supposed to mean. Like, cope. Like, why does it say cope? Has the level designer of this game ever explained what the hell that's about? This might be my least favorite stage in Sonic 1. Just because of, like, sections like this right here. Like, there's no real challenge to this, it's just kind of here to pad out the level and slow you down. Whoa! I swear I jumped off of that. I guess not at the right time. How do I feel about boss fights in the Genesis Sonic games? I mean, they're fine for what they are. I think the final boss sequence in Sonic and Knuckles might be some of the best bosses of the 16-bit generation in general. Like, as kind of lukewarm as I am about that game these days, I think that's one part that really holds up. Like, I've always found it to be pretty impressive. The Genesis games, other than that, they're fine. I don't really feel positively or negatively. Sonic CD, in particular, I think the bosses in that game are either really good or really bad. There's, like, no in-between. Like, Metal Sonic is amazing. The pinball boss in Collision Chaos, I think, is pretty good for what it is. The Wacky Workbench boss is pretty good, and I think every other boss in that game is just pathetic and pointless. It's a kind of uneven game in general, but I also like it a lot. I do think bosses in the Genesis Sonic series in general are of a higher quality than you get of any of the early major Mario games. Oh crap! I forgot. That was not the right path. Sonic CD is weird in that I feel like a lot of people, when they talk about Sonic CD, they try to sell it on the fact that it's more exploration-based than the Genesis games. Like with the time travel and like the robot generators that you have to go back into the past to destroy and everything. But I honestly think that game's better if you just play it like a straight-up Sonic game, where you're kind of just ignoring the time travel mechanic and you're just trying to get to the special stage to collect the time stones. Because you can still get the good ending that way. You don't have to destroy all of the robot generators. And like I think it holds up fine. Like just if you play it like an ordinary Sonic game. Again, the only part I really don't like about it is that the final zone is a letdown. I think the levels in Sonic CD are pretty well designed when it comes to like utilizing like Sonic's like pinball physics, more so than Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 are, but only just barely. And I'm also kind of biased towards Sonic CD because it's another fairly short game, which is something that I appreciate more and more these days. The time travel gimmick is pretty cool, but if it was, like, it'd be a lot more tolerable if the transition between levels was instantaneous and you didn't have to watch a loading screen every time. Like, that just kind of kills the flow of the game, and is why I don't really bother with the time travel that much. I remember Oshima, who directed that game and was the original character designer on this game, he had commented offhand that like he really wished that he had Yuji Naka with him to program it, because he thinks that Naka probably would have been able to figure out a way to make the time travel transitions instantaneous. I need to fix my Sega CD. Like, it doesn't power on anymore. There's probably a fuse that's busted in it, but I can't really say for sure until I open it up and take another look. If I'm not mistaken, this is the only level in this game that has 2 goalposts. And I just noticed that the camera locked, so I think I'm already like locked into the higher route. What? Oh my god. Yeah, the thing about Sonic CD was that, well, after Sonic 1, the team split up, and most of the core team members went to America to develop Sonic 2. Like, Sonic 2 has, like, split Japanese and American staff, because it was developed at Sega Technical Institute in California. Whereas, like, Oshima and maybe like 1 or 2 other key members stayed back in Japan and worked with a new team to create Sonic CD. So like Sonic CD and Sonic 2 were developed at the same time by different teams. Like, Yuji Naka in particular wasn't happy with his compensation for Sonic 1. He felt that since it was such a huge hit, like especially internationally, that he deserved a better bonus for his work on it, and he actually left Sega a few months after the release of the game, and basically only ended up working on Sonic 2 because Sega of America specifically sought him out to come to California and work with their new American development team, and they sweetened the deal by, I think, giving him a raise and a Ferrari as like an incentive. Oops. Probably pay attention to the music. Didn't realize I was almost out of invincibility. Yeah, so the other people that came with him to work on Sonic 2 in America were Yasuhara, who was the main level designer, Ryoko Kodama, who was one of the graphic designers. And I know they got the same music composer back, but he didn't go to America to work just on the music. Can't remember what other staff overlap there was between the two games. This level's too damn slow. It's slower than you'd expect for a pinball-themed level. I think they kind of got better at this stage archetype in the later games. Come here, so get into that. There we go. Yeah, not too long ago, I came across a playlist for the soundtrack for Sonic 1 and 2 that included, on a second disc, the composer's original demo tracks. Because, composing music back in the 8 and 16-bit days is kind of interesting because usually the music staff was split between two different types of staff members. You had music composers who would just be in charge of writing the actual music, and then you had sound programmers who would be responsible for actually transferring that music onto the system. They were the more technical-minded people who understood how the sound chips worked and everything. Whereas the music composers had no technical inclination for how any of that stuff worked. They just wrote music. And the music composer for Sonic 1 was the bassist from a J-pop band, so of course writing music was the only thing that he did. He had no idea how a freaking Yamaha FM chip worked. And so on the Sonic 1 and 2 soundtrack, on the second disc, they have his demo tracks that he composed on different hardware that have a pretty unique sound. It's kind of interesting to listen to them in comparison to what it became on the Genesis. Very rarely you had music composers who could fill both of those roles. Yuzo Koshiro is probably the most famous example on the Genesis. He's not only a really talented music composer, but he knows how the hardware works, and I think that's why his work on the system is so high quality and also so unique. The people who had both of those skill sets back in those days were pretty rare. Before I started streaming today, I was just watching random footage of this game on YouTube, and I came across some beta footage where Sonic's drowning timer must have been half of what it ended up being in the final game. Once you jumped into the water, almost immediately you started seeing the 5-second countdown, which is insane. You'd need to stop at every bubble you come across. Sucked in. If I'm not mistaken, one of those switches up there in the previous section activates a secret path that basically takes you across a shortcut over the entire top of the stage. But it's been a while since I've played, so I don't remember all of this stuff. Getting real close to that anxiety music. This level's really not so bad as long as you just don't panic. You don't even really need to stop for most of the bubbles either. This is another level where the Japanese version has a few more graphical effects than the American version. Like, I don't think all of those those wavy effects in the background are in the American version. I'm trying not to lose my rings. I'll get that last emerald. Oh crap. I've got half a mind to like try and crash the game at the signpost. There's some glitch you can do with proper timing that screws up the way the game loads graphics, and you can just crash it at the end of the stage. I used to have the timing for that down pretty well, but it's been a minute. Yeah, if you go over here to the left, you can see that there's another pathway that leads up to this goal area. The shortcut that skips most of the stage. Is this the last emerald I have to get? I've been kind of zoning out playing these stages. I do not even remember. Whoa! Yeah, this is one aspect of the game that I think they got better in the sequels. These special stages are not much to write home about, in my opinion. More of an interesting tech demo than anything else. Okay, that is not where I want to be. Okay. Get me in. There we go. Another reason I've come to like Sonic 1 more in comparison to the other games is that I just don't care about Supersonic anymore. Supersonic's one of those things I thought was really cool when I was younger, but these days I just feel like he's not interesting because he just breaks all the levels. It's also one of those things that if you're good enough to get Supersonic, you probably don't need him. So he just feels kind of pointless. I do like how in Sonic Mania and some ROM hacks, they make it to where you aren't forced to activate him. Like they map the Supersonic transformation to its own button or whatever. I mean, Hypersonic I kind of feel the same way about. It's cool that they put in a bonus for you for getting both sets of emeralds in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Like, it's nice to have that reward, but in general I just don't really like using Super or Hypersonic anymore when I play the games. That hidden switch, that's really random. Also probably the most obvious tell for new players to Sonic the Hedgehog who don't really have a tight grasp on how to play the game is when they never roll. And I wonder if a large part of that is because the designers felt like they should map roll to the D-pad instead of its own button. Crap. Like, if I'm not mistaken, the designers of Sonic 1 were really dead set on making it a one-button game because they felt that would be... like, it was important to have really simple controls. So instead of making roll its own button on the controller, they just put it on the D-pad. But I feel like people are so conditioned to using buttons to perform actions that they don't think to use the D-pad to roll. Like, it doesn't feel natural in the way that most platformer actions feel. And I wonder if that might be why it's just not... Yes! I got it! Oh. Excellent. I won! I broke the game! 1 second. Alright. Where were we? Oh, I can't believe I got it. Yeah, this is another thing that they changed for the Japanese version, is that the level select is in the correct order now. Yeah, if you roll off screen after you go through the goalpost in Labyrinth Zone 1 or 2, if you do it with the right timing, the game just flips the fuck out. Like, you can't handle it. It's something about how Labyrinth Zone wraps around from top to bottom, I think, that interferes with the way graphics load during the level clear. So if you get it in just the right position and timing, you can just cause an unrecoverable error. I know there are some ROM hacks out there that fix that glitch, but what's the fun in that? I'm pretty sure I just screwed myself out of the good ending because there's no way to get the emeralds again. Like with the number of levels that are left, but who cares? That level crash glitch is like my go-to check to see if whatever emulator that I might be playing Sonic on is up to snuff or not, if it handles that the way it's supposed to. I mean, I'm playing on an actual console right now, but when I do play like new releases or just emulated versions, that's something I like to check to see how it handles that. What is the point of that set of bubbles right there when you can just jump out of the water anyway? Due for a bubble. There we go. I have not played the Taxman versions of Sonic 1 or 2 because I have no interest in mobile games. I really wish those games would get ported to other platforms. That would be really nice. Just saying, Sega. But I am familiar with a lot of the changes that they put into it. Are really solid works. So this is a fine gimmick, just searching out a switch to reverse the direction on these platforms. I mean, it's pretty basic platforming stuff, but I'm fine with that. Shield over there or something. Maybe it's up here? No? There it is. Now this is a boss I used to be able to legitimately beat, and I cannot remember how. Like, you don't actually have to hit him 8 times and destroy him like all the other bosses, you just have to survive until the top of the shaft. So again, like, as long as you just don't panic, you're probably fine. If you fall down like several levels here, you're pretty much screwed because there's no way to get air. Close enough. I don't remember how I used to be able to actually fit in 8 hits against this guy. Yeah, that's one boss where if you make one mistake, you might be screwed. Cause I didn't get hit at all, but I was still running pretty low on air by the time I got to the top. I mean, I was playing fairly slowly and deliberate, but yeah, just taking one hit can really put you in a hard spot. The thing that's cool about Chemical Plant is that there's shortcuts in that stage where you can just avoid all of the pink goop. Which I didn't know about until I played through the stage with Knuckles, because he has an easier time reaching those areas, but like, that's something that's always an option no matter which version you're playing. It's also, oh, oops. It's also a really weird difficulty hike at the very beginning of the game. I remember when I first got the game, I had a hard time getting past that zone for a while. Supposedly Chemical Plant was going to be much later in the game, and they moved it up early for some reason. Quality collision detection. What? Way up there. Let me in. Did I hear it too? Yeah, you can. It's pretty random. Do I really? I don't need these rings, but whatever. Whoa. When you say you like the progression of time in the stages, are you basically implying that like the course of the game takes place over like maybe one day and one night or something? Because I know that's definitely a thing in some games, but I've actually never thought about it for this one. I don't want to take the low path. Let me up. There we go. This is one spot where the spin dash would come in handy. Okay. Not needed. Oh wow, I didn't even need to... Like, what was the point of that path diverging in the first place, then? As long as I'm not on the platform, he'll drop it. Pretty sure you can just hit him directly with those spike balls as well and it'll hurt him. That's simple enough. Yeah, you can use those bombs. Yeah, Sonic 3 is easy to keep track of, like, the progression of, like, not only time of day and setting, but story in general, just because they added cutscenes to connect the levels. So it's more obvious in that game how it's all connected. Scrap Brain is such an interesting level name. Not quite as interesting as Genocide City, which is something they almost used for Sonic 2. This is definitely one level where it's advantageous to stay on the top path the whole time, because there's a lot of pits and hazards. Of course, now that I say that, I don't remember. Yep. That's why you want to stay up top. Didn't really remember the right course of action after those couple of power-ups. I guess you were just supposed to go back left to the vanishing platforms, but... Yeah, the Game Gear games in general, I think, have pretty good music too. That's kind of a thing with Sonic games in general, is even the unnoteworthy games still have... Oh god, I'm gonna die. Like, there's hardly any Sonic games that have bad music. Even bad Sonic games usually go above and beyond for music. I had a Game Gear back in the day, and I had Sonic 2, Sonic Chaos, and Triple Trouble. I think I rented Sonic 1 for Game Gear at one point, but never owned that one. Okay, so there's no special stage rings at all in Scrap Brain. That's interesting. I mean, I understand why there's not one in Act 2, but this level doesn't have one either. It would be kind of fun to stream Sonic 2 for Game Gear at some point, just to show off how bullshit that game is. Masterfully executed. I was gonna say, did I need to hit that switch, or is there another one up here? There's another one up there. This might be the only zone in the game that has a different background for every act. So Act 1 is outdoors, Act 2 is inside, and then Act 3 is Labyrinth Zone Part 2. I feel like this is a fitting amount of challenge for the last zone in the game. Like, I don't think these hazards are too bullshit. Of course, I'd say that right as I get hit. Like, it's not quite at the annoyance level as something like Metropolis Zone, but it's plenty difficult. For some reason, I have a hard time keeping track of which direction these conveyor belts are going. Yeah, are you talking about Sonic 2 for Game Gear when you say that that's a mean game? Like, the fact that the first boss of that game is as hard as it is just kind of absurd. You get no rings in that stage, or in any of the boss stages, and there's almost no way to anticipate the first boss's attacks. Like, it's as close to being luck-based as you can get out of the Sonic boss. But if you get through that first zone, most of the other stages aren't really that much of a problem, which is bizarre. But Sonic 2 for Game Gear was like one of the only games I had for the system, so I played it a lot to the point where I got used to it. I don't know why I went up here, it's a dead end anyway. So I could probably still beat that in half an hour if I wanted to give it a shot. No, we got cutscenes. The fact that the basement to this place is Labyrinth Zone is like a wonderful troll. Should I take the shortcut or should I play through this level legit? Yeah, if you want to see the full level, look up a map. Well, there's not even any checkpoints either. Like, I could kill myself here at the very end and like replay the whole stage without skipping anything if I wanted to. But I don't wanna. I think like all the other bosses in the game, this one just takes 8 hits, but if you manage to hit him a 9th time as he's recoiling from the last hit, his hit points underflow and basically max out to 200 something, like make it impossible to win before the time runs out. I remember doing that once by accident, but it was on one of the re-releases that had the spin dash, so it was easier to get in those extra hits. Nope. This is an okay final boss, but the sequels definitely did those better. If you just roll into him as he's slowly recoiling there, the boss will glitch and it will just take forever to kill him. Well, that's Sonic 1. No good ending, but because I had to crash the game midway through, but, you know, that's fine. Still a solid game, I think. I like it a lot. Oh, so you're saying that, according to Yuji Naka, they wanted to make an original background for Scrap Brain 3, but they just had to reuse Labyrinth Zone because they were short on time? I guess that makes sense. And here we have a bunch of pen names in the credits. Like, it was rare for games, Japanese games especially, of this time to have full credits to begin with, and a lot of times when they did, they just used pen names. Like Sonic 2, they had full names in the credits with their pen names, so you could match up and figure out like who these people were in Sonic 1. When you say Sonic Jam Guide, do you mean like a separate strategy guide for that game? Or like something in the game, like in the Sonic Museum? Because I had that game at one point, and I remember the bonus material in the game, but I never had like a separate strategy guide or anything. Yeah, sound program right here. Those two people would be the ones responsible not just for like sound effects and whatever, but translating the composer's music into like what it sounds like on the Genesis sound chip. Yeah, whatever. I will not be trying again tonight. While I'm thinking about the credits, let me see if I remember how to do this. I don't think I got it. Alright, let me try one more time. There we go. Yeah, I'm trying to get that right now. There we go. Real credits. And also, for some reason, it makes that press start button graphic appear on the title screen. That's really bizarre.